The night the mountain screamed, the assassins finally understood the truth. They had never been the hunters of shadows, only the guards standing between the world and something older than light itself. And tonight, its cage had broken. From the moment the first scream tore through the stone corridors of Alamut, Eric knew nothing in his life, or the world's, would ever be the same again. He had trained his whole life to fear nothing, but the sound rising from the fortress depths wasn't human, wasn't earthly, wasn't anything a blade or courage could silence. It was the sound of history waking up, the sound of something ancient remembering its hunger. Eric, barely 17 but already sworn as a novice of the Hidden Brotherhood, sprinted through the courtyards as torches flickered violently in the wind of an approaching storm that should not have existed on a clear night. Hassani Sabah's fortress, the legendary Alamut, was carved into mountains that had seen the rise and fall of empires, but tonight the stones themselves trembled, as if the mountain feared what walked inside it. Eric had grown up on stories of assassins who moved like shadows and struck like fate, stories of loyalty, discipline, sacrifice. Yet no story had warned him about this. No story had warned any of them that the Brotherhood had been guarding something far older, far darker, far more dangerous than any human enemy. The whispers had begun a day earlier, a tremor beneath the keep, a vibration running through the walls, a sensation like the mountain was breathing. And then, the scholars found the chamber, a door sealed for centuries, its inscriptions older than the teachings of the Brotherhood itself. They had believed it was a crypt. They were wrong. It was a cage. Eric raced into the central hall where torches sputtered as if trying to flee their own flames. Bodies lay scattered, men he had trained beside, laughed beside, men who could scale a cliff in the dark without sound, but had not even drawn their blades before being torn apart. Over them loomed a creature made of shadow so dense it seemed carved from night itself. It had no face, only the suggestion of one, a void where light vanished. Its limbs shifted like smoke, yet every movement cracked stone as if it carried the weight of ages. The scholars had called it a primordial, a myth from a time before gods. A being imprisoned by the ancients, not because it was evil, but because the world could not survive its freedom. Eric froze as the creature turned toward him, not with eyes, because it had none, but with awareness, an intelligence that pierced directly into his thoughts. It wasn't rage he sensed, it was curiosity, hunger, recognition, as if it remembered him, or remembered what he was meant to become. Before he could move, a figure dropped from the rafters. Master Ran, the Brotherhood's most feared assassin. With a single fluid motion, he drew his twin blades, the steel etched with inscriptions older than Alamut. "Run," he barked. But Eric couldn't, because Ran, the man who never feared anything, was terrified. The primordial surged. Shadows lunged like spears. Ran met them mid-air, blades flashing in chaotic arcs that split darkness like tearing cloth. Eric had watched him spar 100 times. He was flawless, unstoppable. But against this thing, his strikes passed through blackness like slashing smoke. And yet each blow still mattered. The creature recoiled, as if the inscriptions burned it. Eric felt something tug inside his chest, an instinct, a pull, like the creature's presence resonated with him, a memory of something he had never lived. Ran shouted, "Go to the inner sanctum, protect the seal." Eric turned, forcing his legs to move as shadows smashed pillars behind him. He sprinted through the fortress, heart pounding, mind racing. The seal, an artifact kept only for the Grand Master, said to bind forces beyond existence. But Eric had never been allowed near it. No one had, except today. Thunder boomed overhead, though the sky outside was starless and calm, a contradiction that made Eric's skin crawl. He reached the inner sanctum doors, massive stone slabs engraved with spirals and symbols that seemed to shift when he wasn't looking directly at them. His hand trembled as he pushed them, expecting resistance, but they opened effortlessly, as if welcoming him. The chamber inside glowed with a dull golden pulse from a pedestal at its center. Upon it lay the seal of binding, a circular disk of obsidian and gold, humming with the weight of forgotten ages. Eric approached, breath shallow, and as he touched the seal, the entire mountain vibrated. The pulse stopped, the glow died, and for a heartbeat, the world fell silent. Then something spoke. Not a voice in the room, inside his mind. You are its echo. You are its other half. Eric stumbled back. Who are you? The seal, the voice said. And more than that, I am what was used to imprison the primordial. And you are the one I was forged for. Forged for me? Eric said, shaking. I'm no one, just a novice. Blood remembers what the mind forgets. You carry the lineage of the wardens, the ones who once bound the primordials. You are meant to inherit the seal and the power to command it. Outside the chamber, stone shattered. A scream cut through the air. Eric gripped the seal. Tell me how to stop it. Then listen, the seal breathed, and do not falter. And so the knowledge poured into him, not in words, but sensations, instincts, memories that were not his. How to channel the seal's power, how to bind shadow, how to stand against something born before the world had light. When he ran back into the hall, the sight nearly broke him. Ran, pinned to the wall by black tendrils, barely breathing. The primordial turned, sensing him more sharply than before, as if recognizing the seal's presence. Eric, Rand gasped, you cannot win. Just survive. But Eric stepped forward, raising the seal, his fear melting into a strange calm. You know me, he said to the creature. Why? The creature's form twisted, and a voice emerged, not spoken aloud, but echoing from everywhere at once. Because you are what was taken from me, the last warden, the last jailer. Eric steadied his breathing, then returned to your prison. The creature lunged, shadows exploding outward, but the seal burst to life in Eric's hands, glowing like a sun reborn. Light slammed into darkness. The impact tore through the hall, sending stone flying, ripping tapestries from walls, shaking the mountain. The creature shrieked, not in fear, but fury, betrayal, pain older than language. Eric felt its thoughts smashing into his own, images of ancient skies, burning worlds, war among beings that shaped reality. The primordial was not evil, it was chaos given form, a force of unrestrained creation and destruction, and binding it meant chaining part of the universe itself. But he had no choice. Light wrapped around the shadow's limbs, the seal burned so painfully in his hands he felt his skin blistering, bones cracking, blood boiling. You were not meant to command me alone, the creature thundered. Your bloodline was split. You cannot contain me. Eric screamed as the force struck him like a collapsing star. His knees buckled, vision blurred, but then another voice ran, crawling across the floor, clutching one of his twin blades, the one etched with ancient inscriptions. Take it, Round yelled. It was forged for the wardens. Eric grabbed the blade with his free hand, and suddenly the power stabilized. The blade resonated with the seal, creating a circle of force that wrapped around the creature like chains of light. Eric felt a surge of strength, not his, but borrowed from generations of wardens. He forced the entity backward, step by step, shadows shrieking as they were dragged towards the chamber where the seal belonged. You cannot hold me, the creature roared. The world will break before I kneel again. Then I'll hold the world together myself, Eric snarled. With a final roar, he thrust the seal forward and the creature collapsed into a vortex of light and shadow, sucked, screaming, back into the chamber's depths. The doors slammed shut. Silence. Eric collapsed, gasping, skin burned, vision fading. Rand crawled to him, coughing blood. You did it, he whispered. You saved Alamut. Eric shook his head weakly. No, the seal is cracked. I felt it. This was only a temporary binding. Rand's face hardened. Then what do we do? Eric closed his eyes. We find the rest of the lineage, the other wardens. Because if that creature escapes again, the world will not survive. Outside, dawn broke over the mountains. But for Eric, a new darkness had just begun, one he was now sworn to face. The last assassin warden, the last hope against the returning primordials.